All right. Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's good to have you joining us. And just I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to get connected here. Meanwhile, checking my tech over here. Looks like we are connected on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So as you are joining us, if you want to drop a comment and say hello in the chat, let us know where you are joining us from. It'd be awesome. If you are catching us on the replay, you can use hashtag replay and ask any questions as you've got. We've got a great episode for you today on our live stream. And meanwhile, before we get to that, let me just do a little housekeeping. If you are joining us from Facebook, real important that before you leave comments, it's just going to say Facebook user unless you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, give StreamYard and Facebook permission to speak to each other, and then we'll be able to see who is joining us. If you've already done that from your device, you don't have to do that again. So you should be good to go. And again, I'll just leave that banner up here below so you can do that. By the way, if I am new to you and you are new to me, let's have some introductions. My name is Beverly Smith, and I am the founder of Career Success Strategies. I'm also the former owner of a staffing and recruiting firm, so I know firsthand what hiring managers are looking for, and I use that knowledge to help mid, senior, and executive level professionals build their resumes, help them with their job search strategies, help them with their LinkedIn branding, all of that good stuff so that they can land the career of their dreams. So last week, my guest was actually one of my team members here at Career Success Strategies. Yuvika Iyer joined us, and she is our resident resume expert. And we talked about the role the resume plays when seeking board director positions. And really important episode. I feel like there's probably a lot of people that don't know that there's a lot of nuance and a little bit of difference between the two resumes. Yuvika is such an expert on this, and she just filled us with full of all kinds of good wisdom last week. So if you missed it, I will put the link up here on the screen. You can go over to my YouTube channel and catch the replay. It's at Beverly Smith Resumes. You'll need to click on the live tab. All of my live videos are actually over there under the live tab instead of like on the main screen there. So you can catch that in any past episodes. And speaking of past episodes, today I am bringing back a former guest. Indy Little is joining us, and I'm so excited. You can catch his previous episode where he was on back in April of this year. So be sure to go over there and check that out as well. But I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to do things a little bit different. First of all, we're going to talk about how Indy's CoreClarity coaching of the Clifton strengths can help you develop and make decisions about your career. But we're also going to turn the tables, and this is going to be fun, right, Indy?
Yep.
We're going to have some fun with this. He's going to actually ask me questions about my experience in working with him in his CoreClarity coaching program. And y'all, it was awesome. So I'm really excited to get into that. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Indy. His given name is Paul Little, but his friends all and colleagues all call him Indy, and he is the founder of Resonate Today. He helps people champion their awesome and maximize their God-given potential. He also teaches teams to communicate and understand each other better, which leads to greater job satisfaction and productivity. Indy is trained as a certified presenter and coach at the CoreClarity assessment, as well as a certified consultant for EQ 2.0, the predictive index, and 360 review assessments. So prior to his starting Resonate Today, he served 24 years as a missionary with Cru, also known as Campus Crusade for Christ. And it's here where he discovered his love for assessments. He was helping people uncover their strengths and helping them best use their talents. During the last 15 years with Crew, Indy served as an internal coach and a consultant, helping the staff find their best role fit within the organization. Originally from Wisconsin, Indy has a marketing degree from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire and now resides in Orlando, Florida. And he is the proud father of 2 beautiful daughters. And just some fun facts about Indy. He is an Eagle Scout, and he is also an avid motorcyclist. And get this, y'all, he has ridden over 170,000 miles and in all 50 states. Now, I think that's pretty cool. Was that fun, Indy?
Absolutely.
Did you do it all at once?
Nope, we did it in 4 big chunks.
Wow, that's still pretty impressive. So, how did you get to Hawaii? Did you fly your bike there?
We put it on a boat.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
a
cool.
cargo ship.
That's awesome. I love it. So, as I mentioned, you and I recently worked together, and you helped me understand my own top 5 strengths, which, by the way, I had done the assessment more than 10 years ago. And so this leads me to my first question for you.
Sure.
I know I'd asked you this too, if I needed to retake the Clifton Strengths Finders. And so the last time you were on the show, though, you talked about how people were hardwired for their individual strengths and that they don't change over time. So what I'd like for you to do is if you'll expand upon this and how this knowledge can help someone shape the direction of their career so that it is more rewarding.
For sure. So different assessments are designed to assess different things. And the way Clifton Strengths is set up is it's designed to measure hardwiring that you have from birth. You can call it given from birth, hardwired at birth. And the whole point of the assessment is to suss out and understand and assess what that is. And there's only a few really rare exceptions where we would want you to retake the assessment. And that would be like, severe stress, things like that.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Anyway. So how it can help shape the direction of a career is the entire idea of the assessment of understanding that hardwiring is to figure out where are those spaces that you as a person get life. What are the things that when you pour into them, you're going to get not just satisfaction, but productivity. You're going to get an understanding of, and you're going to notice, I come alive when I get to pour into these things, when I get to do these things, when I'm around these things, they just bring me life. And so if you can connect that to your career, you can literally show up as every day in a way where what you do brings you life.
Yeah, that's so great. And that's such an encouragement too, I'm sure, to so many people. So another thing that really stuck with me when you and I worked together was that my top strengths, just a knowledge of my top 5, because it is like a hardwire strength does not necessarily mean that it is a talent, but it has the potential to become one. So knowledge is power, so to speak. And will you just expand upon that, the difference between the strength and the talent, and how one makes that strength a talent?
Yeah, it's a critical distinction, because if you think, well, just because I have it, the assessment says I have it, therefore I must be strong at it. It's a misnomer. You've probably gravitated towards the things that the assessment is talking about. But if you don't invest effort into knowing more about what that talent is, growing it and using it, it won't turn into a strength necessarily. So with intention and understanding of the talent and using it, getting practice with it, you can know when to bring it out and when to. I hesitate to use the word show it off as if there's an arrogance to it, but basically when to use it. When is the right time for that tool? If you're immature with the talent and it's a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But you want to understand when to use the hammer and when to use another tool and when to set down the hammer. And so that's what the growth process is about, of turning things from a raw talent into a strength that is useful and successful for you.
Good. That's so good to know, because I think there's just so much potential with understanding that you really can take the results of these assessments and build upon it. And it's not, you are hardwired, but there's room for growth. And so I think that's
Absolutely.
kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, I'm going to turn the floor over to you,
Sure.
and let's rock and roll.
Yeah, this is fun because now we get to talk about like what your experience was, right? Like what
Yeah.
did it look like for you? So when we worked together, was there anything that surprised you about your individual strengths?
Oh, yes. And so, okay, so I mentioned that I took this like 10 years prior. So, just really having looked through everything, I just kind of made an assumption. There's those 4 quadrants, and I just made an assumption that everybody would have a strength in each quadrant, because I did. And you quickly corrected me on that. And you also taught me another lesson there too, is like assuming, um, you know, seeing the world only from your perspective. And so I actually think this would be kind of interesting if you can maybe tell us a little bit more about those quadrants. And here I am taking control again, which probably is like my my strengths. But tell us a little bit more about those quadrants, and how they all work together or work independently.
No, I love that this was insightful for you, because it's often I find it often insightful for a lot of the people that I work with when they recognize, oh, not everyone thinks the way that I do, and when they understand their own wiring, then they can recognize this is the way that I think, and it's good. Like I need to bring this to the table and let other people think the way that they think and bring their best to the table.
Mhm.
So in the CoreClarity model, you've got these four different quadrants that the 34 talents fit into. And you can see the little diagram up here above mine as the
Mhm.
four. That's kind of the logo, the symbol. And so the blue represents talents that are used to make long-term connections and relationships with other people.
Mhm.
So these are going to be relational talents. The talents in the green quadrant are all about thinking. We call them the reflect quadrant. And you're going to use these to make mental images, understand patterns and proofs, and create and distribute ideas. The orange quadrant is what we call energize. These are the talents that get you moving. They get you motivated. They literally get your feet and your hands doing things in order to get traction and move forward. And then the magenta quadrant are talents that are used to mobilize others to action. So it's not just you in action, but you're actually helping other people move and do things together.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Yeah. I think that's so interesting. And it makes me see too, just even that much more, like when you understand, maybe, we look at yours, and yours are high in that reflect category.
Yep.
So I can only imagine that just really helps you in deciding, what direction that you wanted to go in your own career and things like that as well.
Once I sat down and thought it through, yes.
Mm.
When you're just sort of sitting on the sidelines and you're not really you're just trying to survive the day rather than understand how you can understand your wiring and what would look best on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
That's what really made the difference for me. Once I really took some time to analyze how am I made? How am I made? And how could that show up in a way that's fruitful and successful, not just for me, but for other people as well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I tell you, the other thing that kind of surprised me as well is just how many different combinations there are is a little bit mind blowing.
Sure.
And it really goes back to that idea of your fingerprint,
Mhm.
and just how uniquely made we are. And, it kind of is almost biblical too, because it just, shows that we are unique and we are special and we are wired a certain way that makes us different. So do you know off the top of your head, can you tell us off the top of your head how many different combinations there are?
Yeah, just with the top five, Gallup, who owns the Clifton Strengths Assessment, Gallup, the polling organization, the ones that created it. Statistically, your top five is 1 in 33 million.
I forgot it was that many. That's just
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So cool. I bet that makes coaching people really interesting.
It's fascinating because you hardly meet the same person twice, right? It's just almost impossible.
Awesome. All right, what you got for me next?
Yeah, what in terms of the work that we did and what came out for you, how was I able to better help you understand your strengths?
Yeah. So it's kind of one thing to read through the descriptions that are given to you when you get the results back. But when you're really able to, like for me, you were able to explain them at a much deeper level. So this really helped me better understand how I show up and ways that I can actually capitalize on what my strengths are. And honestly, three of mine, before we met, I remember kind of back and forth in emails with you going, I'm really not sure what these really mean. There was the futuristic, the activator, and maximizer were three that was kind of like, I was a little bit confused, and even kind of confused on why that was selected for me. Why did I test out at that? But you can read about them, and like I said, you kind of get that gist, but that real world application that you were able to come along and say, here's some examples. It just really helped me see the possibilities. And quite frankly, actually, it really confirmed, or maybe I should say validated my particular approach and my work style. So I kind of feel like we take for granted these strengths that we have a lot of times. And I see this with my clients too. It gets back to that assuming thing, but when something's easy for us, we just assume that that's, natural for everybody and everybody else has that strength. And it's not really that big of a deal. And so working with you really helped me appreciate my own uniqueness and how I'm hardwired. Say that three times real fast. Hardwired. And why that's special. And so kind of like we were just saying, like I can see how that's really going to be a confidence booster for those in this audience who might be about to seek a job. Because like I know, like when we work with people and we actually do get everything finally out on paper and they see themselves on paper and they've kind of been through that process of going through completing a questionnaire and going through a really kind of an intensive interview process with us, we're able to draw out a lot of things and they look at that and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't really realize that was me. And that's kind of, I guess what I'm saying, I felt like after working with you, I like, sometimes it's just so easy just to go, yeah, there's just like nothing unique about me. I'm just kind of, this is just an easy for me. And it's not that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially there was you and I, which is very common with clients that I work with. They are struggling to see maybe how that uniqueness is showing up, and then I'll comment and say, well, does this other talent seem to have an effect on this on this one that you're struggling to understand? And light bulbs will go on as we talk it out, because you are unique and your top five do coalesce with each other in a unique way. It's part of why it's 1 in 33 million. Like it, and you may not see that uniqueness or that brilliance because you've grown up that way.
Yeah, and I'll say too, after going through the process too, like it makes me wonder how far apart those five really are because of the way sometimes they show up for me. And so And honestly, like I would have thought in mine that I think empathy was second and positivity was third. I
Mhm.
really would have thought those probably would have been one and two and maybe like tied or something like that.
Sure.
So that they weren't was kind of interesting too.
Mhm. Mhm. And so much of that, there's different variables for that. Part of it can be like, well, most of what you do every day, what's required? Is it maybe the empathy and the positivity? And then so that is going to come out more. It's going to show up
Mhm.
more. Some of the other talents may not be as supported or needed. Um, so that could even be in the way you grow up at home. Maybe your
Yeah.
parents, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
person's got parents that don't necessarily support or understand one of your talents, and so it doesn't have an opportunity to really flourish. And then you get to college, or you get to trade school, or you get out of the house, and you've got a chance to do some different things and find, oh, I really like this thing over here, and it really brings to life something else.
Mm, yeah, good point.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
with this knowledge and the different things that we work through, what's been the result? What have you implemented since the last time we were together?
Oh my goodness. So, okay. I will confess that I've always found myself to kind of be what I was called like a reluctant leader. Like I really wish someone else would just step up and do it. But it just time and time again, I will find myself all of a sudden I'm the one in the leadership role. I'm the one, running the show. And whether it's like just being the team captain on my cross country team or, standing up and making things happen in a club setting, or just kind of a fairly recent example for me is when my parents passed away and we were getting their house ready to sell. I am the youngest in my family, and
Okay.
by many years, like there is my oldest sister and I, there's a 15-year age difference. And she and I showed up to work on getting the house cleared up. And I just wanted to fall back into that I'm 3, you're 19 kinda role, or I guess, 18 type role, and let
Mhm.
her, take over and be in charge, and it was not that way, and I quickly figured that out and realized that I was in charge, and that if we were gonna make this happen, I was gonna have to set the agenda and set the tone, and we're gonna have to move forward. Go, go, go. So,
Mhm.
that's one, and then, even probably even a more recent example than that is because that was pre-knowing this. That was just kind of in probably more my frustration stage. So
Sure,
there's
sure.
that, and then since we talked, I found myself having some grassroots conversations with, um, some people wanting to create an alumni association for my college track and cross country teams. And the gentleman whose brainchild it was, he'd actually started this program pre COVID and then had some things happen in his family, and then COVID hit. And it just all kind of like just got put on the back burner. And so, in having a conversation with him, he was like, look, this is kind of my vision. This is really what I want to see. But honestly, I really don't want to lead this group. And I was just like, you know what? I'll do it. I'm just going to do it. And I was so proud of myself for doing that because old me would have just said, let's wait, don't try to take charge. And some of that's kind of a male female role too, or at least
Mhm.
from my perspective, the way I was raised. And in that, let them give the guys a chance to lead. And I was just like, no,
Mhm.
because I'm going to end up, I can just see it. I'm going to end up getting frustrated with people not doing the work. We're going to be dragging our feet on this. And so I got that whole futuristic thing out
Mhm.
and really was able, between working with the guy whose, vision it was, we were really able to create like this long-term vision and come up with um, things that will make the organization more sustainable. And then just combining that with my activator and my maximizer, I've really been able to delegate some of the things that need to be done to a few other people on just the
Yeah,
immediate ground floor.
yeah.
And I feel like that maximizer also just really motivates me to see things through. I went back and was looking at my notes last night, getting ready for today. And, one of the things I had written down in all of these, the worksheets and things that you gave me was that I am real inclined to follow through and make sure things get done, because I feel like when I've got my name on it, my reputation is at stake. And so I'm going to hone that sucker in and make sure that it gets done. So it's been kind of fun. It was interesting watching that play out, as well.
Yep. Changing your perspective, letting you understand different things, literally maturing to go, I don't have to sit back all the time, and I don't have to take the lead on everything. Not everything's a nail. I don't always have to use the hammer. I've got different tools in the toolbox. And if I take the lead here, then that gives someone else a chance to shine in this other area where, something else is going on in this project that needs to happen. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And, it's so interesting. So the other gentleman, what he really wants to do is he wants to handle the fundraising end of it. And he doesn't want to lead that group either. He just wants to be the one picking up the phone and calling these folks. And you know what? There's a lot of people that don't want to do that.
Exactly.
And so I was like, hallelujah, brother, praise the Lord. You can have that. And we'll make sure that we've got someone on top of that. So we've got these 4 different legs in that organization, and that is one of the legs. And we'll make sure we have the right leader on top of it, but they know that you've got their back, that you're gonna follow through making that happen. So it's really cool watching that.
I love it.
So
way to go.
Anyway, well, all right, let's circle back then and talk a little bit more about career planning. So many times I've seen my clients who they know they want to pivot, they know they want to make that career transition, but they really just seem real lost at where they need to start. So how can working with you help them get unstuck?
2 big things in how that plays out. The first is just the third-party observation can be really helpful, as with any coach, to just get unstuck, because we're stuck in our heads and we don't know how to get new creative juices flowing. The second is more personal, in that understanding what your hardwired awesome is, it will actually act as a catalyst to move you forward. It's like pouring gas on the fire. You get a chance to really go in the spaces where you're hardwired to be successful. And so pouring that into your career can really help aim at some things that you may have lacked a little bit of confidence to aim at before, or just not been sure. Like, I'm not sure if I'm aiming this arrow correctly at the right target.
Yeah, I can so imagine too, just the light bulb moments that people would have, and when they realize what their real potential is. And it's almost like, kind of wants to make you break out in the Disney show tune. It's a whole new world. I'm not going to do that, but, but really unlocking so many things. And I feel like I see a lot of people that are, well into their career. So, 20 plus years into their 40s or 50s. And they're like, I'm ready to do some things different, but good gosh, I've done this forever. And so what do I do, and how do I do that? And so I think something like that could really, really help them. So another question I have for you is, many of the people I do work with are in leadership roles, and they're either mid or senior level managers, or they're executives. So how can going through your CoreClarity coaching program help them become better leaders?
Yeah, a couple things here that really stand out. And the first is to recognize where their areas of strength are that they can lean into and use to lead well, which helps also underscore some of the spaces that they might not show up well in. And the reason that's important is to know kind of where you end and where you need help.
Mm.
Not every leader has everything awesome. Like that's just not how humans are built.
Yeah.
So if you can leverage the things that you do well, some of the spaces that you need to do well in as a leader, you can kind of mitigate or manage, and other spaces where you don't have the tools yourself to mitigate or manage those things, you can hire out or bring in help or have an assistant or create another mechanism, bring other people in to give the fullness of the leadership that team needs from you. So recognizing that not everything has to come right out of you and your head or your heart, but knowing that you need to organize and connect those hoses, so to speak, so that the team gets everything that they need.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what I find is that the highest performers tend to get promoted, and we look at those promotions and say, oh, it's more pay, it's more responsibility, and I'm probably going to be a good leader because I was good at doing this performance, whatever the metrics were for that role, right? Key performance indicators. What a lot of people fail to realize is that leading a team can be very, very different from doing the work that the team does. And a lot of people go into leadership without understanding how to lead. They know how to perform, and they know what that performance requires. They know how to do that job, but they don't know how to take the next step up and know how to lead all the people that are doing that job.
So true.
So if you can lean into where your awesome is, and again, learn to bring that to the table with your leadership, understand your gaps, and recognize how to get all the things that the team needs, because a team needs more than for just you to understand how do they perform better. There's more to it than that. There's more to leadership than just telling them perform better. And I can't go into all the details. I would take, 100 consultants for us on leadership, right? Look at John Maxwell, look at other people that are smart leaders, but know that I often find that to be the case with mid and senior level leaders. And so it's critical that they get the help that they need to be the best leaders that they can be. And I know that they can. They just need the tools and they need the perspective to recognize where they can lean into and leverage what they have, and then bring in help where they need it in order to get the team what they need. That's their job. Their job is to get the team what they need so they can be at their best.
That's really good. Yeah. I think I can only see how it would just be huge. And really and truly, if you are watching this and you are a mid and senior level leader, to get the whole team assessed, I could only imagine how much you could grow and develop from that. It kind of goes back to then making sure then that you put the right people on the right seats on the bus as well, and you'll be able to do that because you know how they fit.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And much
really,
more
really.
than a personality test, which is fun. I'm not negating those. I'm not saying they're bad. They're great for team building. But if you understand what a person brings to the table every day in terms of their natural strength that gets them fired up and motivated, and they can apply that to the work that they do, they will literally get more done in less time with higher satisfaction, and probably be far less likely to leave the organization. So your retention rates are another factor that
Wow.
is profoundly impacted in using this kind of material for not just leaders, but also employees.
Very, very good. Yeah, I love that. So, if anyone's watching this and wants to work with you, Indy, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Sure. Prolifically on LinkedIn, up here, Indy Paul Little on LinkedIn. You can also email me, indy@resonatetoday.com.
Okay, I'm going to put those things if I can do it. I get it over here. Here is his LinkedIn, and I've got an email address. Technology is so cool that we can just do all of this. So, y'all, I'm going to tell you, my experience was great, and I'm just still learning so many things on, what what I'm all about and how to make it all work together. And I think the cool thing is Indy does not leave you high and dry. So if you have additional questions after the fact, you can still come back to him. It is
100%.
something that honestly, if we had met when I had my business, I would have had everybody assessed. And, because at one time we had as many as 12 people in our little small business. And that would have really, I think, made a huge difference for all of us in the way that we understand, help us to respect each other and understand those unique gifts. And also to give people the opportunity to work in areas where they can really blossom. And like you said, it's probably reduce turnover and that kind of thing. I will say too, I've had a client, and this was really cool that we did this. And I know we talked about this a little bit on the last episode when you were on, but her company had put them all through the Clifton Strengths Finders, and we put her top 5 on her resume and featured them. And if I'm not mistaken, she may have that in her LinkedIn profile as well. So I think that's kind of cool. And not that everybody will understand, but for those that do, or even it can always, we didn't put it prominently on the resume. I think we put it in the lower portion. However, that gives her some talking points. If people want to ask about it, she can say, well, this is what this means. This is what this means. And that kind of thing. It was really just very, very a neat thing to do. So I would encourage anyone, especially if you are looking for a job, and especially if you're really not sure what next step. I work with some people that, like, I had a consultation with a gentleman yesterday, and he was very clear on what he wanted. And what was interesting was he was pivoting, but he knows what his strengths are. And he was like, this is where I see the next few years of my life really being devoted to, and where I can use that. And if you don't really have a good, clear picture of it, this is going to be extremely helpful, I think.
Amen. Absolutely.
Well, y'all, Lindy, thank you so much for joining us. I've got you. Y'all make sure you reach out to him. Make sure that you connect with him on LinkedIn. He does post some good content, and there's a lot of information there. You can also email him if you want to work with him, or send him a direct message on LinkedIn. And know that he will be happy to have a consultation with you. So. And thank you all for joining. Just a reminder that we do have this every week, and I do specialize in working with mid and senior level and executive level professionals. So if you are looking to up-level your career and you're ready to take that next step, feel free to send me a message, and we can also do a consultation as well. And so with that being said, I'll be back next Wednesday with another returning guest, and we will be talking about the role of faith in leadership. So I'm really excited about that topic. I'll talk to you and see you guys next Wednesday at the same time. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.